Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 654 on Tuesday, the 21st of October, 2025. Hello, I'm not Alan, I'm Andrew. And this week you'll hear about some positive news. In new car news, you'll find out about some refreshes. And in points of interest, you'll learn how you can be a kind person even if you lead a successful company. But first, we have a couple of bits of follow-up, and one is an old friend of the show, DIESELGATE. And the UK High Court is holding a trial to consider the allegations that some OEMs have used illegal software to allow their cars to reduce emissions of harmful gases under test conditions. That opened last week. The car makers and brands who are in the firing line for this are Mercedes, Ford, Peugeot, Citroën, Renault, and Nissan. They all deny the accusations. And the lead KC, who is fighting against the brands, Thomas Delamere, has stated, each player in the industry basically took a conscious decision that customer convenience, which helped the industry sell more cars, was more important. Yeah, we're going to go find out about that one. I would presume the way that it's happened with all the others, that the car brands are going to lose this heavily. When any news comes of that, we'll obviously keep you updated. Next bit of follow-up is that all the production lines at JLR plants are now back up and running following the cyber attack. The Range Rover Evoque and Land Rover Discovery Sport lines at Halewood were the last to start up. But at least they're all up and running now. This is all been done by the controlled phased restart, as JLR called it. A month and a bit of no production has been horrific for the company, as well as the suppliers. As we discussed a couple of weeks ago, they had opened their payment services, so they were paying suppliers again, so that will help relieve quite a bit of the pressure that was on everybody involved throughout the supply chain. Right, into new news. And we will start with the news that Michael Leiters, who used to be the CEO at McLaren, is going to take over from Oliver Blume at Porsche. If you remember, Blume has agreed to step down as heading up Porsche and will now just concentrate on being the Volkswagen Group boss. This was... he made the decision, but I think it was strongly pushed by investors and the board because things have not been going well for Porsche at all. A combination of geopolitical issues as well as their EV products not being up to snuff, as well as China, that market dwindling massively for them, and then obviously with the geopolitical side of things, the extra costs that have come out of selling a vehicle in the United States. Lighted's got his hands full here, I have to say. He takes over on the 1st of January 2026, and then we will see what they're going to do from there. More new appointments, and this time it's Toyota GP. Luigi Cossueri Luca has been appointed the new president and managing director, which he takes over from Scott Thompson, who will be returning to Toyota Australia again. This will come into play from the 1st of January 2026. Good luck to both of them with that one. Now we move on to news that was horrifically badly reported last week, and that is that Cardiff Council has voted to implement changes to their parking system in the city. This includes bringing out a parking permit for local residents, and they have put some rules and some limitations in place on this. Now, the whole idea of the city parking plan was, according to Cardiff Council themselves, to reorganise on-street parking in Cardiff into key administrative areas so that parking rules meet the needs of local communities. Number 2, it was to address unmanaged street parking through the phased introduction of parking zones. Number 3 was to support blue badge holders and residents by reducing commuter parking and encouraging lower levels of vehicle ownership, freeing up road space for those who need it most. 4, ensure parking policies reflect best practice and parking rules are simple, consistent, and easy to understand for both locals and visitors alike. And 5, focus on the climate emergency and air quality agenda, driving improvements in cleaner air by encouraging motorists to choose active and sustainable travel options and to switch to cleaner vehicles. That was the whole idea behind all this. They came out with some ideas of how to do it. Then they put out a consultation and they had feedback from that. And they are very happy to say, I don't know how true this is, but they were very happy to say that they listened and they tweaked some areas of the changes they wanted to make. The thing that's really caught on in the press, thanks to totally misreporting, fantastic job there by all the journalists involved pretty much, was that this was called the anti-SUV parking charge. And just there's a couple of tiny problems with that, because what they said they were doing is that the rules they're going to have fees and surcharges. They're putting those for, and it's only going to be for resident parking permits, by the way. So if you come to the city, you have to go to a designated car park. You can't just park on the roads in certain zones as they spread that out throughout the city over phased timescales. There's going to be fees and surcharges. They're targeting oversized vehicles, and there's also going to be a diesel surcharge. The fees and surcharges, what's happening is that any vehicle that is over 2,400 kilograms of revenue weight, which is gross weight, will be brought in because they are trying to encourage drivers to switch to smaller vehicles. Here's a bit of a thing. Weight does not necessarily mean larger vehicle. Weight is about heaviness. Dimensions are about size. And everyone's got all hooked up on, oh, this is anti-SUV because they're targeting large vehicles. They're not. They're targeting heavy vehicles. But this is all because it's off the back of the C40, the Cities 40 group, who jumped up and down and took on board Transport and Environment's very misleading report, in inverted commas there. Oh, my fingers hurt so much for doing that. Their report and their research where they said that there are dangerous SUVs all over the European roads. And they also said that there was an influx and a flood of American-style SUVs, which is not true. When you actually question members of staff from Transport and Environment, they're talking about those giant pickups that you can't naturally buy over here, even though the pickups we do get are, you could argue, are over large. But, you know, we're talking about like the Rams and the F-140s, the Ford stuff. And that's not what you can buy over here. Some are imported, yes, but there is not a flood of it, and that's just nonsense to make it out. And when you push back at T&E staff about this, they do admit that. What happens is that we get this misleading narrative gets spread out and out. And I've seen some quotes from the council when they voted this through, and they're very, very chuffed to bits that they are attacking SUVs when they're not actually. Because if you look at vehicles over 2,400 gross, you're looking the Audi A5, which is the old A4 estate, that's 2,635 gross weight. Okay. The Audi A6 e-tron, 2,675 kilos. They'll have to pay more. Because with this surcharge, what's interesting is any vehicle, any car that is over 2,400 will have to pay, irrespective of the powertrain. They say that they're going to introduce a 2,000 kilogram limit, but that will only apply to non-electric vehicles, obviously. Dear. So you're going to have things, when that comes in, you're going to have things like the Renault Megane. That's the new one. That's an SUV. That's 2,165 kilograms. Not overly large. The Honda CR-V, which is a PHEV or a hybrid, that is 2,350, or if you're range topping, it's 2,430. Already, they're paying extra. The problem by going for weight is that they will be actually targeting vehicles that are not what they said in all their literature they were aiming at. Because either they didn't know that when you start talking about gross weight, that brings an awful lot more vehicles in, or they did know and they deliberately misled by not telling people the sort of vehicles they're talking about. Because also on that 2,000 kilogram, an Astra estate will be then having to pay extra, which just seems insanity. That is not a large vehicle. That is not. Irrespective of how wrong they've got this and how I might sound I'm against the parking levy and all that, I'm not. I'm just against misleading and lying to the public to get through some information or to get through something you want. Even if you think you're doing it for a good reason, a lie is a lie. And if you do it for a good reason, you'll do it for a bad reason. And nothing ever comes out as it should if you have done it via lying, because people will not be making a decision based on true facts and information. I can see the sense in them wanting to say only residents will be parking in resident streets. I totally understand that. I think that's quite a sensible thing. I would also say, and having asked some people who do live in Cardiff, they need to really work on their public transport because it's pretty shocking. It's not London-esque. If you are going to try and encourage people, or fine them, or just tax them extra for what they feel is needing a vehicle, then you need to give them options. At the minute, that's not quite the case. I really wanted to make it clear that people had been misreporting this. It is not against SUVs, it's against all cars, because that's what an SUV is, and it is purely based on weight. It's nothing to do with dimensions at all. There'll be a couple of articles linked in there. There'll be probably one of the best ones I've read, which is from John Redfern in Motoring Research, talking about this, and also Cardiff's final plan. There's a PDF version of that as well. Right, moving on. Now, we have a bunch of news stories to do with infrastructure and that sort of things on EVs. Now, I'm going to really rattle through these, essentially just going to tell you the titles. If you want to learn more about each of them, then you need to click the links in the show notes so you can read the articles. But we've actually got quite a few backlogged up now, and we wanted to just make sure that you were kept up to date because good things are happening out there. I know it's hard to believe sometimes, but good things are happening out there. And there is some positive news, no pun intended, about UK EVs, EV charging, and also trying to get into the manufacturing of batteries and that sort of stuff. I'm going to rattle through these quite quickly. First off, I'm going to start with the news that Cornish Lithium has secured 35 million funding to push UK battery ambitions forward. Down in Cornwall, the CEO of Cornish Lithium, Jeremy Rathall, has stated that Cornwall is home to the largest lithium resource in Europe, with enough beneath our feet to supply over half of what the electric vehicle industry needs. As we talked last week with China imposing rare earth restrictions, don't forget that they're one of the main suppliers of lithium as well. And if we can spread out who is supplying this stuff, it reduces risks for companies, particularly on the geopolitical stage. Next up, Duracell launches UK-based charging network. This is obviously the battery manufacturer Duracell, and they have a new company or offshoot called Duracell eCharge, and it's going to be an ultra-fast EV charging network. And they will launch this year, and then they're going to expand even further in 2026. They are planning to invest more than 200 million over the next decade. I've seen the picture or a render of their charger, and it looks like a Duracell battery, which I think is just a brilliant bit of marketing. Well done there. Blink Charging is going to deliver 1.4 million EV charging project in West Yorkshire. They have been selected to deliver the first phase of this infrastructure project. That's going to be 716 Blink chargers installed across West Yorkshire from the end of 2025. They are going to be 3 to 8 kilowatt chargers, as well as 8 to 49 kilowatt, and then a few rapid, which is 50 to 149 kilowatt chargers. They're going to be apparently placed close to homes without adequate off-street parking. So this will include both on-street locations and off-street areas like car parks. Openreach, who is one of the larger fleets out there, has signed a deal with My Energy to supply home chargers for thousands of their engineers. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you drive around and you come across a charging station out in public, quite often that there is an Openreach or BT van plugged in charging up. Openreach can spot this because they probably spot it through their bills every month. It's going to be absolutely outrageous. What they're doing is My Energy is going to be installing chargers at the home so they can charge overnight, and that means that the charging rates will be much lower, which saves them lots of money. I have to drop in some bad news here, and this is Compleo, which is a German charge point manufacturer and operator, has withdrawn from the UK market. They have ceased with immediate effects, and there's no details on why or how many people have been made redundant on this. good luck to all the staff involved in that. I hope you find new jobs really quickly. And hopefully this isn't going to affect people trying to use EV chargers out in the wild. BP Pulse and Moto are going to roll out electric truck charging on UK motorways. They are going to install high-powered chargers at key motorway service areas. They're talking about a total of 300 charging bays at 23 locations. This will all be finished, they anticipate, by 2030. There'll be pull-through bays, is how they're looking to do this. They're going to be on the M25, M1, M4, M5, M6, M20, and it says others. On top of that, E.ON has started testing reservations for truck chargers because if you've listened to the show for any length of time, you'll have heard Alan discussing about how that's going to be key because of working out lorry drivers' hours of rest, what types of rest they need, having the ability to arrive at a place where you can then stop and charge at the same time. Absolutely vital to make this work in the real world. Okay, that was the end of the first part. Whew, we made it. That means it's Guilt Minute, and that's the quick break in the show where we ask for a tad of financial support to help keep the lights on and the hosting running. If you feel that the Motion Podcast is worth a small consideration every month, then you can become a patron. Different levels of patron include different levels of commitment from us to you, including being able to watch the show recorded live. We also have a small range of merchandise in our spring store, from stickers to mugs and t-shirts. If you don't have any spare cash, and we completely understand, then you can help us by following for free from a podcast player to receive every show as they're released, and by liking and rating the show in whatever way your podcast supplier lets you. If you've done all of that, and many of you do, so thank you very much, then the last thing you can do is recommend us to your friends and colleagues. Okay, new car news. Got a couple of refreshes and then a bit of an update on the electric car grant eligibility. I'm going to start with Cupra is going to get the 5-cylinder VZ5 engine from the VW group and slot it into their Formentor. They're going to have that coming out soon. That's the same 2.5 turbocharged engine that the Audi RS3 uses, which produces 385 brake horsepower and 345 pound-foot of torque, which goes to all four wheels. That's great. I really like the look of the Formentor, I have to say. I like the fact that it's a bit of a jacked up, estatey, hatchbacky thing. And I like how, apart from their SUV that's out at the minute, that Cupra, they look really distinctive. They don't look like anything else. So you go, oh, that's a Cupra. And I love some of the touches they've got with the sort of coppery accents as well. But this is brilliant, as long as you've got a fairly deep pocket, though, because they reckon it's going to start around £60,000. Oh, ouch. But then again, you're getting a Spanish version of the Audi RS3. It's not surprising. Okay, what else is being updated? Oh, it is the Alfa Romeo Tonale. That hasn't been out that long, but they are widening the track. They're sticking a new grille so it doesn't look like a piece of plastic just slapped on the front that they forgot to put any detail on. As well as with the widening of the track, they're going to have tweaked the powertrain as well. So you're going to get a 1.5 litre turbocharged 4-pot with 173 brake horsepower to the front wheels. They're going to connect that to a 48-volt mild hybrid system. There is a plug-in hybrid, which will use a 1.3 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine. And with the electric motor, will give all-wheel drive and 266 brake horsepower. That's a bit of a reduction from before because that's by 9 brake horsepower apparently. However, Alfa says because of their new hybrid control processor, it'll be better. We'll have to see people who've driven one. Right, electric car grant, and 2 Volkswagen models are now eligible for it. That is the ID4 and the ID5. Are able to get the £1,500 level 2 discount. This is the ID4 Pure Essential 52 kilowatt hour, 170 PS, 1-speed automatic 5-door. The Pure Match, the Pro Essential as well, the ID4 Pro Essential, which is a 77 kilowatt, 286 PS, 1-speed automatic 5-door. The ID5 Pure Match, again 52 kilowatt, the ID5 Pro Essential, again, 77 kilowatt. Apparently, they've met the strict, makes me laugh in this Motor Trader article, says, is required to meet strict technical and sustainability standards. Really? Okay. I can see the technical side of things, but the sustainability standards, I can't work out what they've tried to do there. Never mind. Right, let us move on to points of interest, and we have a lunchtime read that isn't very long and has its tongue firmly in its cheek. If you haven't seen this from Sniff Petrol, it's written in Evo, and the title is When Performance Car Magazine Closed, Two Writers and a Subaru Kept Driving. And he's recounting the extraordinary day that led to the birth of Evo. Yeah, I think license has been taken with facts and reality, but it's a cracking quick little read. Bring a smile to your face, especially some of the details in there. Do enjoy that. We've got a list of the week this time. It is from Top Gear, and here are 9 of the best classic car interiors. As it's only me, it's not a long list this week. And because Alan can't make it to the show this week, I'm allowed to pick this car then, because it won't set him off until he hears this. And I am going to pick the Audi TT Mark I interior. Much as I said that I was a bit flatlined to the exterior looks of the TT, the Mark I, sorry to everybody who I offended with that, I do think the interior is really, really well done. It was astonishingly simple, yet clear, and not overblown. I just think they did a cracking job on the interior. And there's the little touches in, like the circular air vents and things like that, and how that translates further on through the dashboard. Brilliant bit of design. I feel many, many, many interior designers need to go and look at this today, just as a reminder of what can be done if you sit and think a little bit and don't just slap a screen in. Right, that means we have made it to the and finally. And this is from the Autopian, and it is titled, A Cardboard Magnate Spent Decades Overpaying for Cars to Help People in Need. Now he's selling all 1,300 of them. Yeah, this is the story of Greg Rusk, who owns a cardboard manufacturing company in America, who went around buying cars from people in need. People would come to him and say, "Oh, I hear you're interested in cars. I've got this car. I need it to buy a house, to pay a medical bill," whatever it was. So then what he did is he would say to them, "How much do you need?" They would tell him, and that's how much he paid for the car. So he's overpaid for a lot of cars here. Do not get that wrong. But now he's going to sell them at an auction. It's no reserve. And what a wonderful, wonderful man. And what a wonderful idea, where he's coincided something he likes, which is cars, and an ability to help people out there in the way that he has. Do click the link in the show notes, have a read, and then have a look at some of the cars that are in the collection, because my word, they look lovely. And some really oddball things out there as well. Brilliant stuff. Absolutely love it. That rounds out the show. Next week, we should be back as a team. Alan here to deflect some of my venting and give your ears a bit of a break from just listening to me. But between now and then, don't forget that you can give us any feedback and share your thoughts with the show at motoringpodcast.com on Blue Sky, Motoring Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon, and please leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. If you would like to get in touch with Alan, then the best way to do that is go to Blue Sky and search for at AJP Bradley. If you want to get in touch with me, not that I'm looking at social media at the minute because it's all making me so grumpy, but you can try Blue Sky if you search for Cracked Windscreen, and also I am on LinkedIn under my full name. We'll be back pretty soon, but until then, I've not been Alan Bradley, I have been Andrew Clues, and safe motoring.